So I got a free couch thing. I think it's a footrest mostly. I got it for free, and the downside of getting free stuff from the street is that sometimes bugs live in it. And when I was getting out of my car, the biggest spider I've ever seen in my life ran out of it, and now it's just living in my car. Hello, today I didn't really know what to do for a video, so now I'm going to be recommending books because it's called Nancy's Reads, and now I'm going to tell you some of Nancy's reads. Specifically, I'm going to be telling you about 5 young adult diverse books that I think are very underrated but also extremely good. So let's get right on to this exciting stuff. I'm not sure if my roommates can hear me because I don't know anymore. So the first book I have to tell you about is Born Confused by Tanuja Desai-Hidier. I tried to look up how to pronounce her name, but I couldn't find any videos on it, so I tried, y'all. I tried. Born Confused is about Dimple Lala, who's an Indian American. So Dimple loves photography, she has a white best friend, she has very Indian parents, and her life is already pretty confusing from the get-go. But things get even more confusing when an Indian American love interest infiltrates her life. It's a really sassy and smart love story, so if you're really into that, go read it. It's really awesome. The next book I want to talk about is The First Part Last by Angela Johnson. And this book is, I think, the first book in a series, but it could just stand alone. It's fine standing alone. I think I brought this book up before, but I'm just gonna reiterate everything I said. So The First Part Last is about a black teenager who also has an infant daughter named Feather. The story is told in flashbacks and also in present day, and then you start learning about all the things that happened up until the point that Feather was born, and then you start learning about things after the fact. It's pretty dramatic, really emotional, and beautifully written. The next book I want to talk about is Anyas Ghost by Vera Brosgol. Now this one is a graphic novel. I'd say it's sort of like a paranormal, fantastical, contemporary story. The main character is a second-generation Russian-American, meaning that her mother was actually from Russia. As a second-generation Vietnamese-American, I really identified with this character, and I totally knew where she was coming from. As sort of hinted by the title, there is a supernatural element in it with ghosts, so expect that. The next book I wanted to bring up is In Darkness by Nick Lake. So In Darkness takes place in 2010 when they had that huge mega earthquake and it just killed a whole bunch of people, and it was really tragic. So the main character is this teenage Haitian boy who is stuck inside of a hospital after an earthquake, and he's just sort of remembering what had happened up until that point. There was a lot of governmental struggles as well as familial matters, and I thought that that book was just beautifully written and beautifully crafted together. Now the last book is not really a diverse book, but it's the first book of its kind that I've ever read, and it's called 3 NBs of Julian Draw by James M. Dean. I read it in high school around the same time that I read Catcher in the Rye, and my friend who was in my English class when we were reading Catcher in the Rye just gave that book to me and was like, I am not interested in reading this weird book, so you should read it. And that's what I did. And I enjoyed every second of it. So this book is about a teenager named Julian Draw, and he lives in a semi-abusive household. And in living in a semi-abusive household, he writes in his notebooks, but he also writes in weird code just in case his abusive parents might find them. And it's just super interesting trying to get through his codes and trying to figure out what he's trying to say, but then as the book goes on, it gets better and better. You need to read it. You need to read it. That's all I'm saying. I honestly don't think a lot of people have heard of this book, but I feel like if this book had been written and published around the time the young adult explosion, it would probably be really popular and be made into a movie. But since that's not the case, it just sort of exists. So read it, please, and share it. So those are all the books that I wanted to talk about today that are diverse and young adult reads that I think need more attention, because there's a lot of diverse books that need to be read and need to have the same amount of attention as other young adult books. So let me know any of your diverse young adult recommendations down below because I'm always looking for new ones. Anyways, that is all I have for you today, and I'll see you tomorrow in another video. Bye! Cursive is an archaic art, okay? And they made me do it for the GRE, for the agreement on front.